With you, the one thing, a thread that I've heard in you, which I really appreciated, is like literally 3 times you've responded, you've said, my friends, I was talking to my friend. Like this person talks a lot to their friends, which is really beautiful because you're thinking, wow, like you're a busy person, you're back to back. I mean, I remember I think we were both speaking at the Sharjah Book Festival. You landed one night, I messaged you and I said, Trevor, let's do breakfast. You're like, dude, I leave.
I was gone
I was
already.
there for 8 hours, you were there for like 6 or 4.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought I was there for not enough, I was there for 8 hours and you were like, dude, I'm literally leaving tonight. Yeah. And so you're a busy person, but in this conversation, so many times you said friends, like, like how, who are the friends? What are you talking to them about? Like, what's your consistency? I'm fascinated by that because...
So who are the friends? Predominantly, my friends are from South Africa. Friends I met doing different things. All organic meetings, which I'm a sucker for. I'm terrible at making friends, partially because I don't trust people easily. I exist in a world where I can be friendly with many people, but you know, it takes me a while to accept that this person is actually a part of my life.
Right.
And I think for a long time it was because, and still is sometimes because I have an idea of putting something on that person where I may need them means that they may disappoint me. And then on the other side of it, them needing me means I could be in the position to disappoint them. You know, and so as we learn people, I find we learn what they can and cannot do. We learn who they are or are not. And it's always situational for me. You know, that's when I'll call you like a friend, is that I know how you are in most situations.
Yeah, it's a good definition.
You know, that for me is the definition of a friend. So, you know, we use it loosely, obviously, but, you know, I can be friends with you and we always meet for lunch and always meet for, but then I only know you in one way. My friends, I start to be able to, I almost store in a vault in my mind. I can say for a fact, if we're friends, if Jay was here, this would bother him. He would like that. He would probably say this, and that's why he would act this way.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's how I think of my friends.
Yeah.
So they've been a major part of making me feel at home. You know, my job, stand-up comedy is a really lonely career. You know, and I remember talking to a comedian, it was a few weeks ago, talking about how there was like a period where a lot of stand-up comedians were committing suicide, you know, and you'd hear this devastating story of a comedian that everyone loved. They were in a hotel room and then they committed suicide. And I was petrified because I always think it can happen to me. You know, I go, if that happened to them, why did it happen? If I don't understand, then what is it? Another comedian, another comedian, another comedian, another comedian. I think being a stand-up comedian is a really lonely job in that we're traveling, oftentimes alone. We don't have a band. We don't have backup dancers. We don't travel with a crew.
Can you imagine you with your backup dancers?
And yet every night you're going out there and you're making people laugh. You're having fun with them. They come with their families. They come with their friends. They come with their loved ones. You leave alone. And it's this constant exchange of energy. And what I learned was my friends became that hub. My friends became my recharge. My friends became the couch I could lie on and say nothing or everything.
Yeah. And
thanks partly to technology, I've been able to keep in touch with them. There's no catching up for us. It's literally a running, we've got a WhatsApp thread that is now, I'm gonna say, 15 years old.
Yeah.
Like literally I can go back and search something from maybe 10 years ago sometimes. I can go back on the WhatsApp thread and go, what happened? And I can search and I can find it. That's how long we've had the same group and the same friends and the same everything. And obviously it's grown over time, but that core has kept me, you know. I always think, did you end up reading Harry Potter?
I didn't ever read it. I've watched all the movies. Yeah, I never.
Oh, you watched it? Okay.
Yeah, I watched all the movies. So I know all the. I'm a big fan actually.
Okay,
of the movies, yeah.
So I feel like your friends in life are your Horcruxes.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
You know?
Yeah,
I think as people, what we do is we break ourselves into parts. And whenever we meet people, we give them a part of ourselves. And some people we give more than we give others. But we give everyone a different part of ourselves. No one in your life has the same part that another person has. They may seem similar, but they're not. Your mother and father hold different parts of you. Your uncles, your cousins, your brothers, sisters, your friends, whoever it is, they all hold a different parts of you. And the same way Voldemort could use that to come back to life, I feel like we can use that to come back to life.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you watched a different movie.
I read the book.
Yeah, you read
I read the book, my friend.
That's what it is.
That's what you missed in the movie. I read the book. Yeah, and so I always think that as man, sometimes I can be at my worst. Sometimes I can be lost.
Yeah.
Really, Jay. There'll be times when I'll be like, man, what am I doing? Or I'm stressed, I'm tired, I'm burnt out, I feel lost. And I can call a friend, and no joke, they can say to me, well, the Trevor I know, and I love that they say that. They don't say this is who you are or not. They go, the Trevor I know found his joy here.
Yeah.
Hey, I've noticed that you're always happiest when you do it this way.
Yeah.
Hey, I've noticed that, you stress more when you're in this position. Hey, and I go, man, I didn't know that about myself, or I didn't hold myself that way, because I'm always experiencing all of me still through my lens. But thank you. You freed me. You encouraged me. You held me. You loved me. And what then happens is I start to find what I need to get back to my purpose, to my passion, to whatever drives me. And that's why my friends are a big part of that. That is the core of my world.
Yeah.
And it's funny, my mom even used to say that to me when I was growing up. At a certain age, she'd say to me, my friend. And I'd be like, I'm not your friend. You're my mom. And my mom would say, just because I'm your mom doesn't mean I'm your friend. She said, there are many mothers out there that aren't friends with their child.
Yeah.
And she said, I'm your mother, and I will always love you as your mother, but you are becoming my friend.
Wow.
And that stuck with me. I realized that friendship is a choice. Every other relation we have isn't. And so even your relatives can become your friends or may not be your friends.
Yeah.
And I think understanding that illuminates a lot of how you interact with people in the world.
Yeah, I really resonate with everything you said, but one of the things that stood out was that kind of performer's loneliness. My work mainly started with coaching and working with people, and I work with a lot of musicians and people who tour and travel, not comedians, but artists, and they're performing to like 100,000 people, and 80,000 people, and then they would always talk to me about this, and I didn't really have a empathetic experience of it. I could understand it theoretically.
Yeah.
And then, because most of the events I used to speak at were like corporate events or like a business event or things like that. And then a few years ago when I did my first ever event with my audience, and it was in LA, people who came because they followed my work, not because of anything else. There was only about 2,000 people in the audience, and I finished the event and I got into the car and it hit me. And I was like, oh, like this is chemical. This is definitely chemical, because you've just had thousands of people shouting your name and like loving everything you say and all this validation and everything else. As what you were saying when you were coming, like the dopamine, the everything.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden I was like, well, wait a minute, this feels weird. Like, why do I feel like, a sense of loneliness? And it was really interesting because I felt like that pretty much and I felt like calling someone.
Yes.
And I couldn't, because in London it was too early. None of my friends would be awake. And so they're 8 hours ahead because I'm in LA, and I'm going, I gotta wait another hour for my friend to wake up, 2 hours. I'm not gonna wake him up in the middle of the night. So I'm waiting there. And then all my friends in LA were just at the event. So I just saw them. And so they're probably like going home, and it was a weeknight. And so maybe and I'm like, I don't wanna. And then I get home, and my wife had organized a surprise party for me with all my best friends, like closest friends in LA. Wow. And it was like a relief. It wasn't even a celebration. I was like, there was a sense of relief. I was like, oh, thank God, because I don't know what I would have done tonight, man. Like, I understand why people turn to drugs. I understand why people turn to. I understand. Like, it was the first time I was like,
because you need to numb it.
Yeah, you need to numb it because you just don't know what to do with that feeling. And that was the first time I'd felt that way. And I can't imagine, as you're saying, for someone who's on tour and traveling every night.
My drug, as I said to you, my drug was chocolate.
Oh, I love chocolate too.
That was like I couldn't, it's like my team knew, my people knew. It's like, I'd do the show and immediately, and you probably relate to this more because, coming from the UK, in America, they don't really do it. In South Africa, our petrol stations, our gas
petrol
stations,
stations, yeah.
right? They have amazing stores attached to them.
Yes.
Like here, every gas station looks like it's already been robbed. You don't want to pour gas. I don't like it. It looks terrible. They all look abandoned.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
they all look like a ghost town.
They really do.
Yeah.
Whereas where we're from, it's like, oh, you go and you buy a pie, you buy a few drinks.
Yeah, there's like cooked snacks.
Exactly.
And
It's like, oh, this is life. You can get some groceries on the way. It's a very normal concept.
Yeah.
And that would be me after every show. I would drive, there would be the silence. I couldn't listen to music. My mind would just be,
silence.
it's like I could hear everybody, but they were gone. And then I would go in and then I would buy, chocolate would be my thing. It immediately, and then I over the years I would read and I'd started learning that chocolate, the dopamine, the sugar, all of these things, I was correcting a chemical thing without realizing
Correct.
it. Because it is a shock on your body.
Yeah.
Everyone, nothing.
Yeah, it's so fascinating that experience, and I'm sure people have that in different ways in their life. Like you don't have to be a performer to thousands of people to experience that. I think people experience that in lots of different ways. It's beautiful that you've been able to continue this 10-year WhatsApp chat. Like that's like a brilliant achievement.